What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So how do the American people feel about Social Security? So we're going to take a look at that today. There are a few surveys that I want to show you that talk about how people feel, how strongly people feel about Social Security. Do they like it? Do they dislike it? Are they in favor of Social Security as a whole? Do they want to expand Social Security? When we look at the breakdown among Democrats, Republicans, Independents, what are we looking at when it comes to how people really feel about Social Security? So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. And so this National Institute on Retirement Security, they found that 87% of Americans agree Social Security should remain the priority regardless of budget deficits. So the big talk now, and you're hearing these different politicians out there talking about we need to make cuts to all these different government agencies. 87% of the American people say no. Even though we're running a deficit, even though we have all of this debt, Social Security needs to be the priority. Now, DOJ is looking at Social Security and say we need to make some deep cuts into those programs because what they like to say, and I don't like to use a word, but they use the word entitlements or Ponzi scheme. You hear all this different stuff when it comes to Social Security and Medicare. So they're saying these are the programs that we need to be targeting. Well, the American people, 87% of the American people are saying no, you shouldn't be targeting Social Security or Medicare. Okay, let's go further. When we break this down along political party affiliation, 90% of Democrats support Social Security, 86% of Republicans, and then 88% of independents. So I don't know of any issue that is more popular if you just look, bipartisan support for Social Security. 90% of Democrats, 86% of Republicans, 88% of independents. This is why politicians, they don't like to talk about Social Security and they don't want to touch Social Security. The reason why they don't want to touch Social Security is because they know if they make changes and they make cuts to Social Security, guess what? They're probably not going to be around much longer. They're going to lose a re-election because this is a very popular program. But just looking at how popular these programs are, I really can't see a politician really justifying doing this. There are certain things that they've talked about doing that, raising the full retirement age. They did that back in 1983, so I'm thinking maybe they think, okay, well, we could probably still survive if we raise the full retirement age up a few years, but that's still a cut to Social Security, but it depends on how you sell it. When it comes to raising taxes on people, so raising the FICA contribution up a little higher, maybe from 6.2% to maybe 8.2%, you might be able to sell that as well. Tell the American people, look, this is the situation that we're in. Trust funds are being slowly depleted. The reason why we want to raise the FICA contribution is so we'll be able to extend Social Security out another 50 years. I think most people will buy into that. Now, understand this, Social Security will still be around. As long as we have people in the workforce, we're going to have Social Security. The reason, the focus right now are the trust funds. The trust funds are being slowly depleted. We have about $2.6 trillion in the trust fund right now. And just think of that as a savings account. So you have a savings account and you have a checking account. That checking account, that's FICA. That's what you're contributing when you're working right now. You contribute 6.2%, your employer matches that 6.2%. That money goes over to the trust funds and then comes right back out because it's paying out benefits to people who are currently receiving benefits. But that 6.2% that you're contributing now and the 6.2% that your employer is contributing, that doesn't pay out benefits at 100%. And that's why they're slowly taking a little bit from the trust fund every month. Eventually, in about 8 years, the trust funds are going to be completely depleted. And when we get to that point, if we get to that point, hopefully we don't, but if we get to that point, we're going to be looking at a reduction of about 23% in Social Security benefits across the board. And so that's why they need to reform Social Security. But you have politicians they're uneasy about how to reform Social Security because some politicians have said behind closed doors, some of them actually said to the American people that we need to make cuts. We need to make cuts to Social Security. It's not popular, just like I showed you, all the people who support Social Security, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. So they don't want to make cuts to Social Security because they know it'll be the end of their career. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward. Let me show you just one more thing when it comes to some of the surveys that were done. So it says 72% of adults worry Social Security system will run out of funding in their lifetime. With millennials, 79%, Gen Xers, 77%. Now, I just talked about FICA, and I just told you that as long as you have people in the workforce, we're going to have Social Security, but we could see it at a reduced rate if they can't reform Social Security. Another thing that we need to look at is our current workforce. We're seeing a lot of automation now. You go into a grocery store, and they've kind of backed away from this, but for the wrong reason. They backed away from this self-checkout and all that because they were losing. People were stealing things by using the self-checkout. And so that's why some of the stores are really uneasy about using self-checkout. But we're seeing automation. And the more automation that we see, that's less people in the workforce. And you have less people in the workforce, that's less money that's being collected by FICA going into the trust funds to pay out benefits. And so if we see more automation, we see more self-driving cars, if we get to a point where you don't have taxi drivers anymore, Uber, Lyft, you don't need those because you have a computer that is driving all the cars. And I mean, I guess we could get to a point where we have planes being flown by, self-flying planes. I don't know. I mean, that sounds a little dangerous. I don't know if I'd be comfortable getting on a plane if there wasn't a physical pilot there. But what I'm saying is it could come down to a situation where now we're looking at automation taking over and a lot of these jobs are no longer there. And if we do see that, then that is going to impact people receiving Social Security benefits. And we could see even more cuts. We see 23%, let's say 23% cut in 8 years. But let's say 15 years down the road, they have to make even more cuts because they have less revenue coming in from FICA. Okay, this email is coming from Pam. And Pam says, "Hi, David. Thanks for all of your work on the Social Security Fairness Act. I got my retro pay about a week ago and then printed out the benefit verification letter. Since then, I've been doing calculations to see if I could figure out how they came to that amount. The only way I could make it come very close was to deduct taxes from the lump sum, as I have taxes voluntarily withheld every month. I've been having approximately 7.5% withheld. So I used that figure, and it still wasn't right. Yesterday, I decided to use 10%, and there it was. It finally was not exact, but only off by $8. Today, I received a letter from the SSA explaining the whole thing. Sure enough, they withheld taxes from my retro pay because I had opted for that for my regular monthly benefit. And it calculates out to 11.1%, which explains why 10% was slightly off. But I'm good with that as I was considering raising it anyway. Just thought this might help some trying to figure this out. If you've been having taxes withheld, they took taxes out. If you haven't, they didn't, and definitely did not take Medicare out. Hope this helps, Pam." Okay, so people are trying to figure out the calculations. That makes sense. So if you have taxes being withheld, then your amount is it might not make sense. It might look like you're getting a lower amount than you should be getting. So just remember that. And when you receive your letter, hopefully they will be able to confirm that with you. But I have had people saying that they're receiving too much, or they think they received too much, or they think they didn't receive enough. So this is good information for some of those people who are thinking, I didn't get enough. Why didn't I get enough? There should be more. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know in the comments below. You can also send me an email, david@thetecshow.com. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.